Let's face it, you guys, mixing is hard. Some mixes are easier than others, and if you do it long enough, it definitely gets less difficult over time. But for the most part, when it comes to making music, it is not the easiest part of the process. It should be if you do everything else right, but in the end, even when everything is perfect, your creativity takes over and a whole new set of challenges emerges. But what can make it easy, and especially what can make it fun, is when you really start to understand all the tools available to you, and what can be done to really wake up a song after it's already been recorded. And one of those tools, which might be the most important of them all, is filtering. Specifically high pass and low pass filters. So in this video, I'm going to show you a quick and easy approach on how to use them in your mixes, how to quickly deploy them to get the best results, and the power of what this one mix fixing trick can do all by itself. So let's get right into it. If you'll do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe and like button, that does a ton to help keep this channel and this video moving. Let's go. What's up everybody, how's it going? I'm Brad Dollar, welcome to the channel, it's great to see you. So what are filters anyways? What's a high pass filter? What's a low pass filter? What do they do? Well, to put it really simply, filters are just another form of equalization. Instead of boosting or cutting at a specific frequency and leaving everything intact above or below that frequency, filters cut everything out above or below that point. Below that point for a high pass filter, meaning it lets only the highs pass, and above that point for a low pass filter, meaning it lets only the lows pass. Just like any other EQ, the effects can be really subtle or really dramatic, with all kinds of different processors and workflows. On most filters, you'll be able to control the curve as well as the frequency that the cutoff in filtering begins. And one of the best parts about filters is how easy they are to use. Now you'll find filters on all kinds of gear, both analog and digital. Consoles, plugins, preamps, channel strips, all tend to have some kind of filter built into them. So they're everywhere, they're super useful, and if you're not already super excited about them like I am, I hope by the end of this video you will be. So let's not waste any time, let's get right into how to put filters to use in a mix. Alright, so here we are in Pro Tools. These are stems from one of my tracks, and this is just a quick rough mix of them. There's some programmed drums, some bass, some guitars, and a vocal sample. I've loaded up each track with the stock Pro Tools EQ plugin, but no matter what software you're using, or even if you're on a console, whatever filters you have available to you will work. But certainly inside of any DAW, the standard stock EQ that it comes with will work great for this example. And as we'll see in a little bit, using the same technique with different filters can also give you a whole new sound. So first things first, in this example, we're really only concerned with high pass filters and low pass filters, among a few other types that are out there. High pass and low pass filters are the ones you're most likely to encounter, and honestly are the most useful. Now you could use just a high pass or just a low pass filter when it comes to a plugin. In the case of this example, I'm using a plugin that has both combined, so we can look at them together and potentially use them together. All in all, filters are pretty simple. You usually have some sort of in or out button. You have the actual shape of the filter. The slope, or how extreme that cut is expressed as dB per octave. Lower ranges are softer cuts, and higher ranges are harder cuts. Typically somewhere around 12 dB per octave is a great place to start. And then you also have your frequency, and this is where the cut is actually beginning. So starting right below or above that frequency, everything begins to roll off or be cut. And then to use it, you pretty much just roll it up and down. And on some filters, like the one we're using here, both the high pass and the low pass filter can be used in conjunction. Now, how do you actually set a filter so that it sounds good and it's not taking away too much from your tracks and that actually helps your mix instead of hurting it? Well, the easiest way that I've learned to do it, and the best way I've ever heard explained to me by the late and great John Cutler, is just to use your ears, and as soon as you feel like the sound is losing something or the magic starts to go away, then you've gone too far, and then just go back a little bit. And that's typically a great place to start. Then once you begin to get the rest of your mix together and everything starts to fold into each other, if you find that you're missing a little too much low end or a little too much high end from the filtering, well then you can always add it back. Using high pass and low pass filters like this does a great job of clearing stuff out of the way without having to overly EQ everything to make stuff pop out and really reach towards the listener. Now this isn't the only way to use filters, but it's certainly a great path to deploy them quickly and effectively and still have fun in the process. All right, that's enough talking. Let's get right into how using filters like this sounds. So what I'm going to do is go through each individual track, solo it, and listen to where the filter really starts to take away the magic of what's there. Now I want to stress that I'm really not a big fan of EQing things when they're soloed. I find that you start to take things out that are actually helping the mix. However, especially when I'm starting to mix, I like the clarity of knowing exactly what's going on inside each track. Sometimes I won't do any filtering. If I think all the low end that's there is maybe too much in my head, but actually is going to work great for the song, I'll leave it. Same thing with the high end. So remember, there's no rules to this. It's really about your ear and how the song is making you feel. So there's a million ways to do this, and without further ado, I'm going to show you the way that I know best, and I hope that it's helpful to you. Let's go. All right, real quick, I'm gonna play the track for you as it stands with nothing on it and no filtering. Here we go. All right, so it's okay, not too bad. It definitely is cloudy in some places and could for sure use some filtering. So let's get into it. For the sake of time, I'll just go through a few of these with you so you can get an idea of the feel and what it's supposed to sound like. And then we'll jump ahead in time with filters on each track, and I'll bypass and unbypass them all together so you can hear what it's doing to the whole mix. So let's go. Okay, starting with the kick. Switch in the filter. I'm going to do 12 dB per octave for pretty much all of these. It's a nice kind of middle of the road slope for the filters. I'm just going to roll this thing up until it sounds unnatural. And let's just check the low pass filter as well to see what taking some high end out of it can do. Somewhere around 5K. I don't want to take out too much of the top end, but it's also nice to get some of that, clackiness out of the way of other things. So that's good for now. Let's move on. Go to the hats. Hi-hats are pretty easy. Pretty much just don't really want any low end in those. And you'll be surprised when you start filtering, you can find out how much you can really get away with filtering. A lot more than you think. And after a while, you'll just know what you like. Like I know for a crash, like I don't really need the low end. We can definitely just go right for getting rid of up to 200. And then I know this track needs a little bit of brightness, so I'm just gonna not even touch the low pass filter and leave all the high end in place. Bass is always the thing to really play with a high pass filter on. You can get rid of a lot more than you think on it. And a lot of the really tasty stuff that helps a bass pop out in a mix is actually upper range, upper harmonic things to experiment with and play with and listen to, as opposed to just trying to either boost or cut the low end to make a bass come to life. But with that said, I'm gonna get rid of a little bit of that tubbiness down low. All right, let's try it on guitars now. Now, this is kind of a Niles Rodgers style guitar. It's already a little thin, but there is some lower end stuff that can make it feel a little cloudy, so we're definitely gonna get rid of that. And then what that did as well is made it feel a little brighter, which was nice. Kind of got rid of the cloudiness and brought it forward a little bit. But with that in mind, I don't want it to be too bright, so let's just check the low pass filter. Nice, kind of keep it around there. That'll keep it out of the way of the top part of the air, the vocals and the cymbals and whatnot. And then we'll have the synth and the trance stabs. Let's try those out. Now with synthesizers and high pass and low pass filters, this is a place to really experiment with new creative sounds. Because synthesized instruments are so full range, there's a lot there for you to play with, either to leave in or take out or boost or cut, and it can be really fun and a really great way to experiment to find new tonalities for your mix. I tend to find things like pads and synths can wake songs up in a way that by themselves, those tracks are not that exciting, but inside of an overall song, an overall piece of music, they can do a lot to lift what's going on there. And part of that is making sure that they're not occupying too much space. So let's check that out right now with this synth. It's kind of like a pad sort of thing. Gonna get rid of some of that low end cloudiness. And just some of that top end crispiness. So you can cut a lot from this and it's still not really missing it. last but not least, let's check the vocal. Now, vocals and filtering, you need to be really cautious and listen to them closely, because some voices, like the low end that you might be trying to cut because it sounds noisy, is actually what gives the voice of that particular person its life. And same thing for the top end. You don't want to cut too much if that's actually where like that person's range and tonality and vibe comes from. So be sure to really listen closely with vocals. But that said, filters lend themselves very well. Maybe not too much low mids. And then some of that really, really top crispiness that maybe is rubbing a little bit in this kind of like vocoder style part. All right, cool. So now every track has gotten a little bit of filtering done to it. Now we're going to listen to the same section with the filters bypassed and unbypassed globally, so you can hear their overall impact on the entirety of the song. Let's go. Nice. Now what it's done is reduced a lot of like the phantom impact that comes from things just being super loud and everything being at the same volume. Now what this gives you is a platform to begin compressing and EQing in a more additive way. And now with that in mind, I want to try the same thing one more time with a whole different set of filters. In this case, one of my favorite plugins to use for filtering, and actually one of my favorite filters in real life, and that's the high pass and low pass filters from the API Vision console. And in this example, we'll use the UAD API Vision channel strip. It's also worth noting that every filter sounds a little bit different, and these API filters particularly are a little brighter and a little more vibrant inherently. So I'll set that up right now, and then we'll bypass and unbypass globally so you can hear what it does. Here we go. Nice, so that's basically the idea, and overall you can see how using a different type of filter will give you a whole different type of sound, and that once everything is together in the mix, that you really do need to play with things to make sure you didn't cut too much or too little out. But the essence of this tool is that when you start with it, when you begin your mix from making sure you're getting rid of anything that's clouding things up or filling up your mix in a way that's not really helpful, you're giving yourself much more room later to use other creative expressive tools like compressors, reverbs, other EQs, and harmonic saturators without overdoing your mix as a whole. All right, so that's it for now. I hope this was helpful. I highly encourage you to give this a shot. Try this with other plugins. It's really satisfying when one thing can have such a big impact to your tracks, especially if you're not really into using a lot of processors and plugins and EQ to begin with. Filters can be a beautiful, unobtrusive way to clean up your songs and really take them from what's in your head and heart and turn them into reality. Every song and every mix will require a different setting and a different way of using filters, but eventually you will find your rhythm and your flow and the things that you love to do with them. If you're already a big fan of filters and use them frequently, please drop a comment below. Let me know what you like to do with them and what some of your favorite tricks are as well. No matter what, when it comes to mixing, there are no wrong answers. And the more you take risks, the more likely you are to come up with something totally new and totally different. All right, so that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and like. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.